I've been following the news of the Archbishop of San Francisco, Archbishop Cordileone, who has issued a statement regarding giving communion to Nancy Pelosi, who's the third most important politician in the US, denying her communion because of her stance on abortion. And what's most interesting is the response of some Catholics to this question. So I'm just going to run through some the responses I've seen come out, because I do want to talk about them and just to educate us a little bit more on this particular subject. So the first tweet came out from this priest, Daniel P. Horan. It seems to be from Irish descent, seemingly ordained by Cardinal McCarrick. And he says, the Eucharist is not a weapon. Those who turn it into one are idolaters and sinners themselves. Christ associated with those deemed unworthy by religious and civil leaders, dined with them, opened the scriptures and broke the bread with them. It is a scandal to deny communion. James Martin, Pope Francis last year, I have never denied communion to anyone. When the Church, in order to defend a principle, acts in a non-pastoral way, it takes sides on the political plane. It has always been so. What must a pastor do? Be a pastor. Don't go condemning. Be a pastor, because he is a pastor also for the excommunicated. Another perspective on denying the Eucharist, Bishop Robert W. McElroy. The Eucharist is being weaponized for political ends. This must not happen. James Martin, I am pro-life. I admire Archbishop Cordileone as a pastor, but I think denying communion to politicians is the wrong way to address this pastorally. We don't deny communion over threats to other lives, which are, as Pope Francis said in Gaudete in Exultate, equally sacred. Our defence of the innocent unborn, for example, needs to be clear, firm and passionate, for at stake is the dignity of a human life, which is always sacred, Pope Francis wrote. Equally sacred, however, are the lives of the poor, those already born and destitute and abandoned and underprivileged, the vulnerable, infirm and elderly, exposed to the covert euthanasia, the victims of human trafficking and new forms of slavery and every form of rejection. So that's just a sample of some priests in America who aren't too happy with Archbishop Cordileone's approach on communion to this lady Nancy Pelosi. You can see her. I just put a photo up here. She's here meeting the Pope. And people might be saying, well, why is the church getting into politics? Why is church getting involved in this? We should stay out. There's a separation of church and state, and the church shouldn't be getting involved. And other people will be saying, why are we making abortion a religious thing? What's abortion got to do with it's fine, you keep your religion, I'll have my life, and we can do our laws. Your religious views have nothing to do with the laws of this country. There's a whole debate going on, because if you frame the right to life as a Catholic teaching, then you can box it away as a religious opinion and say, okay, that's fine, you have your Catholic teaching and your religious opinion. We have our society and our laws, and we're going to keep those two separate. So I can be privately Catholic and believe in what the church is teaching, but publicly do something else. It's very important for Catholics to argue this point on the right to life, not from just Catholic teaching, but from the human rights point of view. You cannot have any human rights if you don't have the right to life. And that's the simple reality. We need to argue this from the human right point of view, and not from just the religious point of view, but from the religious point of view as well. We are one body, we are one church, we have one teaching. And as yesterday, as I was saying, in Knock, they have this kind of confession preparation, and in the catechism, abortion, and I put a link to the paragraphs of an abortion in the catechism. This falls under the 5th commandment: thou shall not kill. So if you're going through an examination of conscience, the first thing, have I cooperated in taking an unborn life? That's a question that you would see on an examination of conscience, because we have to examine her. That's a question you will see in the examination of conscience going into confession in Knock. This is a shrine where they would celebrate just the Novus Order most of the time. So the traditions might say, oh, it's a bit modernist, and so, well, no, it's not being completely corrupted by modernism. It still holds the Catholic truth of the faith. And the question they're asking is, have I cooperated in the taking of unborn life? So you will have to go through, did you pressure a woman to take an abortion? If you're a man, did you pay for an abortion? Did you vote for abortion? Did you legislate for abortion? And if you have, you need to confess that as a sin. Now, there's a lot of people that might have voted for abortion and go to communion. The priest doesn't know, or if the priest does know, he might take the prudent step of, look, I know that this person voted, but I'm not going to take a public stand here and deny this person communion. They could do that. I don't know. But when it comes to politicians, who are the guardians of civil legislation, they vote for, they promote, they draft, they pass civil legislation. When it comes to politicians passing civil legislation, who happen to also be Catholics, we do have to hold up the teaching of the church. We do have to hold up this and say, well, you're enacting a law, or you're supporting a law, or promoting a law that is contrary to this, contrary to the teaching of the church, and you want to then come in and be part of the body of the church. And I just want to read something very important. It's Catechism of the Catholic Church 1396. The unity of the mystical body of Christ, the Eucharist makes the church. Those who receive the Eucharist are united more closely to Christ. Through it, Christ unites them to all the faithful in one body, the church. Communion renews, strengthens, and deepens this incorporation into the church, already achieved by baptism. In baptism, we are called to form one body. The Eucharist fulfills this call. The cup of the blessing which we bless, is it not a participation in the blood of Christ? The bread that we break, is it not a participation in the body of Christ? Because this is one bread. We who are many in one body, for we all partake in the one bread. If you are the body and members of Christ, then it is your sacrament that is placed on the table of the Lord. It is your sacrament that you receive, to which you are to respond, Amen. Yes, it is true. And in responding to it, you assent to it, for you hear the words, the body of Christ, and respond, Amen. Be then a member of the body of Christ, that your amen may be true. So it's up to those who know the faith. It's up to the pastors, those that know the faith, bishops, priests, us laity, to convey to the next generation the truths of the Catholic faith. You know, sin separates us from the truth. Destroying your child in the womb is a sin. And we need to help and encourage people to understand the beauty of life, to respect the most basic of human rights, which is the child in the womb. And this discussion can expand out a lot further. But if we don't have a right to life, you won't have poor, you won't have elderly, you won't have immigrants. All of these other human beings would not exist if we don't respect the right to life. And we're not denying all of the other things that James Martin was saying, where we don't deny those who do blah, blah, blah. Look, you have to start somewhere. And abortion is one of the most destructive elements in our society. It destroys at so many levels. And that's simply the truth. Many women will remember the child that never was and regret what they did. And we need to be counter-current for that. We need to show a different path in life for this, with compassion and love. We need to teach our children, we need to teach the next generation the value of life, the value of human relationships, the meaning of sex. You know, this is sadly where we seem to have fallen down, that you can do whatever you like and it has no consequences. When things come back, when you go against nature, nature comes back against you. When you use sex for what it's not intended for, nature will come back at you. When you destroy the child in the womb, at some level, at some stage, that comes back on you. Whether it be depression, whether it be regret, whether it be the child that I could have had and didn't. And, you know, we have to be, as Catholics, shining a light on this. Not just making it, as I said, not just making it, because the left, those who support abortion, will always say to us, oh, you're trying to push your faith, your teaching on society. Keep your rosaries out of our ovaries. We hear all of these statements. And it's not just faith. Our faith reflects the truth. So our faith reflects the truth, and we need to be able to bring that discourse into society. And in a way, Cardinal Cordileone, or Archbishop, hopefully one day, Archbishop Cordileone is bringing that discussion into mainstream. He's preaching on the right to life. And who is doing this? And instead of shutting him down and criticizing him, where are the rest? Where are we doing this? Why aren't all bishops supporting him? Because Nancy Pelosi and her party, the left, they have enacted these laws. They push these laws. They promote these laws. And then they claim, well, I'm Catholic now. I can discern. I'm Catholic. I had 5 kids, and, you know, I know what it's like. Come on. Anyway, God bless. And I'm doing this podcast because Ireland is heavily influenced by what happens in the US. Heavily, our culture has been influenced. After we voted for abortion and celebrated it. We had a party in Dublin Castle. Wasn't there, obviously, but we all saw the celebrations of abortion. Imagine celebrating destroying the innocent child in the womb. That's what happened. They all stood up. Yay! We can kill our children. Yeah, we all looked at it. Okay, 66% of people voted for it. Went and put the tick. And next year, 2019, we saw 6,666 abortions. You can look it up in the headlines. It was kind of, God, that's a bit demonic, isn't it? 6,666 abortions. After 66% of people voted for and celebrated and danced, yeah, we can kill the babies in the womb up to when. Sounds, you know, that's really what happened. I mean, I saw my children in the womb. You know, you see the scans, you see them at 3 months. They're your children. They're human beings. They have legs, they have eyes, they have heads. You know, you could see this. How could you celebrate destroying something so beautiful? People know this. Deep down, people know that it's wrong. You just don't do this. You just don't willingly go to destroy something like that. You let life come forth wherever life wants to come from. I mean, pray for Ireland, pray for the church. If the church doesn't stand for the truth, who will stand for it? You know? And these are basic human rights. God bless. Take care. Bye-bye.